and share stories and share, sorry about that, and share stories. But your safety is paramount to us, so we didn't do this. We are very optimistic and already planning for and keeping our fingers crossed that we will be holding our 2022 summit next year. So we are already in person next year. We're already planning for that. It is wonderful to see so many faces. When the cameras was, when people started turning their cameras, I was waving. I forgot my camera was off, so you couldn't see me, but I was waving to the, hey, hey. But it's nice to see so many familiar names and faces. And it's also nice to see so many new people who have joined Beacon this year. At the same time, I think we need to acknowledge the fact that there are 17,000 people who are no longer with us because they were taken because of bladder cancer. And so our thoughts are go out to them and their families right now. Now, even though we've been working remotely for, I can't believe it, a year and a half, we have continued to work hard to bring programs and services to you. So I'm hoping you are enjoying those. Most of the year, most of you, I would say, are familiar with our webinars, but some of the new things we did this past year was one of the things we introduced was our new treatment talks webinar this past year, featuring a medical expert and a patient who has gone through whatever's being discussed that particular month. And that has really been well received by the community this year. They love the treatment talks. One of the other things we began this year is what we call our podcast series, Bladder Cancer Matters. We have 13 episodes already in the can, have over 8,600 people who have listened to it already. And I want to thank Rick Banks, a longtime volunteer who hosts our podcast. It is really, really well received. And if you are interested in signing up, please go to simply search for Bladder Cancer Matters and subscribe. We'd be happy to have you come on board every month when we have that. One of the things we also did this year, we hadn't done it in a few years, but we expanded our Beacon team. We hired a director of research. Her name is Rebecca Baraski. You will see her in just about a little while. Diane's going to get more into our research portfolio, but I thought it was important to mention that we are growing so much that we did need to split the two roles, the research role and the communication and the education role. I do want to thank Stephanie, who has been wonderful at managing both of these for so many years, but we've grown to a point where she just can't do it all. But I would be remiss if I didn't throw a big hug to her and thank her and say, Stephanie, we really appreciate all you've done for so many years. But this is a good growth. This is good growth for Beacon. So we're happy to see Stephanie be able to put that research side of it down and just carry on with the patient advocacy and the programs. Now, this past May, which was a Bladder Cancer Awareness Month, we had our walk to end bladder cancer. We had more than 1,400 participants, 47 states, DC, Puerto Rico, and 11 countries involved. Now, I know you can't believe it, but we are already open for Walk 2022. And the first 100 people who register will receive a Beacon hat. So after this is over, feel free to go to visit beacon.walk and get yourself registered so you can get one of those hats. Now, another thing we did this past May, we had Ask the Experts online event, which drew more than 1,200 views. And we also launched our Beacon of Hope Award. We had more than 800 people, passionate volunteers from the community who voted on this. We really enjoyed it. We had a good time doing it. I want to congratulate Noelle Lippman, who is our first Beacon of Hope Award winner this year. So I know she's probably joining us. So congratulations on that. None of what we have done at all this past year would be possible without the tremendous support of you, our patient community, and from individual donors and corporate sponsors. We are truly humbled and grateful for the support we receive. We hope that you will continue to support us for the rest of the year as we look to doing even more in 2022 with the new resources that we have. We've been busy since last year's summit. But the staff has really, really been dedicated to giving you as much, as possible. But it's your courage and dedication and resiliency that motivates us. And personally, you are the reason that I'm motivated to get up every day and fight this fight every day for you. So thank you so much for all you do for Beacon as well. Now, I would like to introduce someone who really needs no introduction. Most of you know her, the new folks online would not, but I want to introduce you to Diane Percy Qualley. She is our co-founder, who with her late husband, John, started Beacon 16 years ago with the goal of helping bladder cancer patients and caregivers just like you. Diane, you have the screen.
Thank you, Andrea. And I want to add my welcome to all of you. Just looking at how many have joined us, and I just feel like how amazing it would feel if we actually were all together in the same room and we could share each other's energy and make the connections that I know that are so important. So as Andrea just said, we are all really hopeful that next year we'll be able to be joining together in this wonderful program. For those of you, and I know there's so many of you who have joined us for a summit before, it's wonderful to have you back. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, I'm so grateful that you have found Beacon, and I hope we can provide what you're looking for, be it information, connections, support. But I do recognize that if you're newly diagnosed, this can all seem a bit overwhelming. So I just want to give you a gentle reminder to remember to breathe and take it one step at a time. And please don't hesitate to step away if you need. Beacon will always be here to support you. As Andrea already mentioned, my late husband and I started Beacon 16 years ago because despite the prevalence of bladder cancer at that time, there was little public awareness, no patient-centered support or information for bladder cancer, and there were no treatment advances and little treatment options. We talked about bladder cancer as the elephant in the room, the disease no one wanted to talk about. But John and I knew we deserved better, as did all the families impacted by bladder cancer. And that's what I love so much about this meeting, because it really does embody what Beacon is all about, and it reflects the impact that we're making. As many of you heard me say so many times, Beacon is a community where individuals impacted by this disease joining together to make our voices heard and give bladder cancer the attention that it deserves. We're a community providing support and understanding to each other so that no one ever feels alone. And we're a community of medical professionals across the spectrum dedicated to finding better treatments and saving lives. And over the past 6 years, there have been so many new treatments approved for bladder cancer, and there's now a plethora of clinical trials for all phases, all types of bladder cancer. And as we can see by the generosity of our sponsors for this program, there are numerous pharmaceutical and biotech companies that are devoting significant resources to finding new and better treatments. So it's a really exciting time and a time for all of us to have great hope. So where do we go from here? As Andrea just said, Beacon's going to continue to raise awareness and spread the word so that everyone who is diagnosed with bladder cancer knows about Beacon and has access to our resources. And we're going to continue to improve and increase our educational and support programs. And as Andrea just said, we are so excited to share with you the news about the expansion of our research program, growing so much that we needed to add a new person. And let me add my welcome, my warm welcome to Rebecca Baraski as our new full-time research director of research. Our research grant program has always focused on filling in the gaps supporting those areas that are not being adequately funded elsewhere. And while the landscape has certainly changed since we started to fund research in 2010, there's still a lot of work for us to do. We started first with our Young Investigator Awards, and that was launched to show the postdocs and fellows and residents in the medical community, those who had already demonstrated an interest in bladder cancer research, that there is funding for bladder cancer, and thereby we wanted to make sure that these best and brightest individuals would continue to dedicate their career to bladder cancer. And this program has been hugely successful, with the majority of our award winners now so deeply engaged in the BCAN community, providing support for our research review programs, as well as all of our educational programs. They are taking leadership roles in clinical trials and leadership roles at medical conferences, and it's just so exciting to see. On the other end of the spectrum for our research grant program is our Bladder Cancer Research Innovation Award. And that is focused on the more experienced, seasoned investigators who have creative ideas that may be difficult to be funded elsewhere because they are high risk. But while they are high risk, they also promise a high reward that could really move the bladder cancer field forward. And this program as well has been incredibly successful, with the research that we are funding going on to provide the foundation for additional research projects, and also has allowed us to attract some seasoned investigators who were not focused on bladder cancer to bring their talents and energies to the bladder cancer field. So we have a new award for 2022. It's our Career Development Award, and it sort of fills in the gap between the Young Investigator and the Innovation Award. This is to support new faculty members, junior faculty at medical institutions, to ensure they have the resources needed to have time to do the research, in addition to perhaps clinical duties, to do the research that will translate new concepts into clinical practice. So the result of our growth of our research program is that for 2022 alone, BCAN will provide more than $1 million in research grants. And I am so excited about this and just thrilled at the impact that we are making. So our wonderful BCAN staff has an amazing program lined up for you this afternoon. Please take from it what you need and what you're looking for. Think about how you may want to participate with BCAN going forward. Maybe it's helping us spread awareness, supporting our programs, participating in our programs, supporting our research program. I understand that really none of us really wants to be here today, spending a Saturday afternoon talking about bladder cancer, but it's where life has brought us, and together we will make our voices heard, and we will continue to make a difference for our own families, as well as the hundreds of thousands of others. Thanks so much.
Thank you so